no, no speaking.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi, this is Lokesh from the Soul Freedom Show. Welcome, Charlie, Freaks Patreon members, and welcome, Charlie and Colleen. How are you doing?
We're great. Thank you, Lokesh. Pleasure. Wonderful to be with you.
Nice. Yeah. Can anybody on the chat confirm that we are live? I see that we are live, but just in case. And welcome, members. I see a few people logged in. If anybody can quickly confirm we are live. Hi, Charlie and Colleen. How's your day going?
Busy.
It's great.
Every day is busy.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I know. It's oh, nice. I was going to ask you, why don't we have your animals on the show? And
Sure. Don't start.
They'd like to.
Yeah.
I know.
That's one of 17 cats, but they're all incredible. Like they're all incredible. Listen, you go.
Amazing. Yeah, again, welcome Patreon members. This is an exclusive show. Yeah. And then just wanted to announce quickly. So right now, this is private for Patreon members. But later on, we might make it public. But the question and answers that are going to be in this show are only going to be for the Patreon members. And yeah, another announcement, Charlie and I and Colleen, we are planning to have a weekly Friday Q&A and interview session. So we're going to announce that soon. And that's going to be first Fridays for only Patreon members, and the rest of the 3 or 4 Fridays for everyone. So we'll have more chance for Q&A and everything. So yeah, Charlie and Colleen, take it away. You want to have any updates or just tell us what's going on?
Sure. So just to clarify, everyone, and hi, we love you so much. And this for right now, and until some other things happen with regard to the website and everything else that's happening right now. This is just the only way. It's just the only way. And
we hate to miss any of your questions, right. and not to be able to connect with you.
It's impossible any other way. So for right now, this is the only way for us to be able to hear and allow you to have access to us. And it's the most efficient way. And we have to be very efficient with our time, because as most of you know, as many nights as I do get a few hours of sleep, equal amount of nights I'm not getting sleep. And so there are no other hours to put back into the day for me to do more things. So we're literally at that point where there's just no place else. There's no other time for me to be able to place any other demands. So we just have to be more efficient with everything. So please understand that. We appreciate that you understand that. And you're so very, very important to us. And again, just so that you know, all the money that is sent to us goes to the animals. Colleen and I are more than fine. So what we're doing is creating what should have been done a long time ago for the animals. And we're going to keep you updated with beautiful images as things continue to progress with the animals. And it truly is. It's coming together right now, and it's beautiful, and we appreciate it so much. And of course, the other thing that we're starting and going to continue to do is building a tree forest or a food forest of fruit trees that can sustain a large number of people with all the food that we will ever need. So, and that of course will be for all of us moving forward. So yeah, it's amazing. These are amazing times, and we thank you so much for being here. And we have a sneaking suspicion that these shows are going to grow and grow and grow. That's why, as Lokesh mentioned, we're going to take on every single Friday just for question and answers. So That's every Friday, our time, which is Central Standard Time. We're south of Mexico City, but we're on Mexico City time. So if you ever just want to know what time it is with us, just check current time in Mexico City, and that'll tell you what it is here in Miacatlan for us. And so right now, the shows are going to be 2 to 4 our time, which would be 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or noon to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if it's 2 to 4, that would be 8 to 10 p.m. at night in the UK. So just to give you a set, and that's going to be consistent every single Friday. And then, as Lokesh said, every first Friday, because you come first, every first Friday of every single month, the first Q&A show will only be for you. And then the following 3 or even potentially 4 shows within the month will then be open, which of course you can attend as well, of course. And then the first show of each month is back to you. Now,
and for our Australia friends, we're sorry that it's like early in the morning.
Yeah.
It probably just 2 o'clock or something.
Yeah. It's one thing sorry. With our Bali friends, because it's 12 hours apart, but with Australia, especially if you're past Victoria, past Melbourne and Victoria State and further across towards Sydney, you just keep getting closer to us. And it's very, very tight, and it's very difficult to find really any time that works.
But we're going to record it and we'll send it out. So
that's right. That's right.
You can send a question in and we'll try to answer them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Lokesh will record all of these, and we'll both post them up. So you'll have access to all of this gnosis. And now the other thing that I wanted to do to start the show, and it was really, really, really amazing because a very synchronistic situation. We just received a private message from Q Galt, who is an enormous force on Twitter with his Twitter account, and just a beautiful, beautiful soul. And he exists to teach the truth. And what Colin and I like about Q Galt, or John Galt, so much is that he's teaching, telling, unveiling some of the most painful, ugly truths that exist. But he does so in such a way that it's not tearing communities or worlds apart. It's bringing people together. He has a great skill with that. And he's a very, very beautiful, intelligent, and beautiful and strong, but a beautiful soul. And so it was great. He just reached out to us again, and we were sharing and basking in some beautiful comments from him. And then incredibly, just as we finished looking at that, the phone rang, and it was Charlie Ward. So we just finished speaking with Charlie Ward. And that, of course, is a powerful synchronicity as well, and a powerful message. We had a beautiful conversation with Charlie about virtually everything, all the key things that are happening with him right now, and of course what's going on. And so I think the key thing to remember through all of this is that it's very important for people like Q Galt, John Galt on Twitter, to keep an eye on those who are purporting themselves to be truth sayers, because once again, as you guys well know, Colleen and I have had the strength and the courage to call some people out in the truth community, because it's very, very clear that they do not have your best interests at heart. And of course, if the mainstream media has been completely owned by the Rockefeller Rothschild disinformation team, then it, of course, is very easy to be able to do the same thing to the alternative media. So we've been very aware of that from the beginning, which is why we had to come out of anonymity and take on this role, because nobody was doing it. It was alarming to us, and
or at least nobody that we could find.
That's right. Yeah, and we didn't discover Santos Bonacci until after we began the channel, and then we discovered Santos, and that was absolutely absolutely wonderful. And again, why so many of you comment and wonder at how I know so much. Yes, again, it is because of the intense work that Colleen and I do with regard to meditation, going within and connecting to the Father and accessing those Akashic records via meditation. But so much has also come from Santos. Please, while Santos is working, seeing some things out at his end, because he has carried this fight for so long, never, ever, ever throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just remember that the foremost brilliant mind that that I can certainly say that I know of is Santos Bonacci. Santos is an absolute right proper genius. With that mind of his. And of course, as with all of us, we constantly need to maintain balance. And if we lose that balance for all sorts of reasons, then the violet light and the violet 144 petal lotus flower of the crown chakra can become vile and even violent at times. And so then all we need to do is just right the ship. It's just once again casting thy net to the right and balancing ourselves in harmony through love. So it'll all happen. But I want to just say that again. Santos Bonacci, so Freak Sense TV is absolutely so important that you're subscribing to it, and encourage others to subscribe to it, because what we've created is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so is Santos with MrAstrotheology.com and his website page, Universal Truth. Yeah, Universal Truth. Yeah, universaltruthschool.com. And so yeah, just remember that about Santos, and the wealth of knowledge that man has shared with us is permanent, it's forever, and it is empowering, and it is beautiful, and it goes so far beyond the rest of these people purporting to be rock stars of the alternative truth. The alternative truth meeting. It just never seemed to get around to solutions. Don't know why. I don't know why. So let me just sum all of this up with Charlie. We are going to be moving forward with Charlie. It's very, very important. There's a reason the two Charlies came forward, and especially in and around the same time. And so we're getting this from our the Heavenly Father, and we really see this, and so we're going to maintain that connection with Charlie. Now, whatever Charlie has done in the past, remember, and I was just saying this to Charlie as well, so many of you absolutely love Charlie because of all the things he's able to share with us. And the reason that Charlie knows what he knows, and by the way, everything that I've heard Charlie sort of say is accurate. So he's not making any of this stuff up. So Charlie does have very powerful connections. The reason is because Charlie was moving money for very, very powerful people. And again, I just had this conversation with Charlie half an hour ago. And when you are moving massive amounts of money for people who have massive amounts of money, you're dealing largely, not exclusively, but largely with criminals and the most vile people that exist, because
but elite criminals.
That's right. And they have incredibly rotten connections.
So they wouldn't be considered in the world to be criminals. But I mean, we all know that at this point, we know what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. So in all fairness.
Yeah, that's a good segue into, I got a few questions about the Nasara, Jasara, and also last couple of days, like you were saying on Twitter, there's been a lot of, noise about who's saying what. And yeah, there's always, some controversy going on, but basically what people are saying is people who are presenting these Nasara Jasara stories, they may not be true. There's no proof. I mean, that ties in with the money part that we were just talking about. And also they're talking about the quantum financial system.
Mhm.
So before we just get to the Q&A, I just wanted to briefly touch on that. Like, people talking about that's coming up soon, but I also hear people saying that they've been talking about it for 20 years, that is coming soon.
Yeah.
And September 11, 2001, it was supposed to be live, and then that thing happened. So do you have any updates on what people can expect, like in the financial situation going forward?
Yeah, thanks for saying all of that, Lokesh. And folks, remember, this is why Colleen and I take the time to say these things. And sometimes we run the risk of being misunderstood and these things coming across as egotistical. We assure you they're not. We have so thoroughly done the work inside of ourselves that we are removing. Of course, it's always present and it's always ready to pop its head out, but we're removing the ego out of us, because this is all about the service that needs to be done for God and God's creation. And when you embrace that world, that's the right hemisphere of the brain. And there is no samsara, the great wheel. There is no electrical circuit, and there is no ego. There's no hydra, no dragon in the right hemisphere of the brain. So as long as we continue to do the work and we stay there, then you absolutely can most assuredly trust us for all of the things that we're sharing with you. So,
but that also doesn't mean you shouldn't do your own research.
You have to do. That's why, by the way, precisely why I provide zero, never have, and I will never provide any links for any of the things that I'm saying. What I'm creating is a culture of truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so that it's teaching you, once again, because it's necessary, to learn to have faith again, to learn to trust, but the right people for the right things, going to the right. Only those who most assuredly cast their nets to the right. And then you learn to trust again, because what we want you to do is what we've done, which is to take everything that we had physically and literally cast it to the right and trust that it will come back to us in abundance. And it has. There are no bad days. There are no problems. There are merely beautiful opportunities and great synchronicities that continually happen. And we want this for you so much. This is that take no thought in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, that Jesus talks about. So in 6:21, 6:22, the real treasures of this world exist within us in the third ventricle of the brain. And if thy eye be single, thy whole body fill with light. And then in the completion of Matthew from 6:23 to 6:34, 5 times Jesus mentions, take no thought for your life. Why? Because each is killing one of your 5 physical senses. And that is what must occur. We must learn to place the physical realm beneath, to the left of what is truly important, which is the metaphysical realm. Because the metaphysical realm, which is the third eye chakra, which again, you see is above the blood-brain barrier. So the 5 in-body chakras are from the blood-brain barrier to the sacrum. And then the 6 and the 7 chakras are in the heaven, head, heave, heap, heaven. They're all the same word. You have to heave yourself to the heap of your head in heaven. Heaven upon earth is your head. And so we have to cross the blood-brain barrier. 6th chakra is the third eye chakra, which is Ajna. And the 7th chakra is the Sahasrara, which is the crown chakra. And that is above. That is this between two worlds. So the 6th sense, which is tied to the Ajna, is intuition. The 7th sense, which is tied to the crown chakra, is telepathy. This is how you communicate with the Father in real time. Never a moment too late, nor a moment too soon. Always exactly when you require it, Frodo. Remember that scene from Gandalf and Frodo in The Lord of the Rings? Yeah, that's what Tolkien was saying. Absolutely, most powerfully. It comes exactly when it's meant to, not a moment too soon or too late. And this is how you lead your life. Because when we take thought, thinking, the act of thinking is a left brain process, and that is where the ego exists. And we run the risk of falling afoul with the dragon, the hydra, the serpent again. And so we must exist through the right hemisphere of the brain. And that is this trusting in God to always tell us what we need to know, what to do in every single moment. Okay.
So what you're saying is that the dragon lies await in the left-hand hemisphere, waiting for you to utilize it. And that's when it can get you into trouble. But you're looking for the balance, right?
That's right. Yes, that's right. And again, Colleen does a wonderful job of making sure that I always explain it well, which is that again, initially it is this battle and the defeat of the left brain, but then we require the left brain. It's there for a purpose and a reason, but we must use it through the right hemisphere of the brain. So we are righteous when we use the left hemisphere of the brain. And again, the secret, that's why when I did the meditation video, that's why I decided to do the meditation video completely about righteousness. Because if you do that, you have nothing to worry about in your lives. I promise you, everything will work out. Money will flow to you. Everything in your existence will change itself and align itself to goodliness, godliness, happiness, joy. It will. All you have to do is cast thy net to the right, and that is taking thoughts only that are beautiful, loving, caring, compassionate. So again, how do you heave yourself to heaven, to the heap of the head? That is the Kundalini, and that is the sacred feminine. And she has been removed. You know that for 100 years, you know this. She's been removed from our culture. So by raising the Kundalini, we ascend ourselves up to heaven. So with all that said, we had a wonderful conversation with Charlie Ward. God has made it very, very clear that Charlie is all part of this for a very powerful reason. That where Charlie is at right now is legitimately caring, very caring for the things that truly matter. What his affiliations in his past are something that Charlie knows and needs to deal with. And but where Charlie is at right now is he is very, very much 100% committed to seeing what has been started by the Q team and President Trump, to see it through. So so we want to say this publicly about Charlie. And remember what I was saying earlier. Let me finish this thought. You want Charlie to tell you all of these incredible things about Nasara, Jasara, and different aspects about what's going on behind the scenes. Charlie knows these things because he spent 40 years rubbing elbows with some of the most vile, wealthy, evil people that exist. But that's nothing against Charlie. If you're in that position, that's who you're going to rub elbows with. Those are the ones that have bent the rules for this fake game of Monopoly in their favor. And then, of course, they just collect. That's all they do. They're collectors. And so Charlie has connections, knows these things because he has been of that world. It doesn't mean that he partook in the absolute deepest horrors of that world, but that's how Charlie knows the things he knows. So you have to be able to be observant, diligent all the time, but you also have to be fair and forgiving. And so we need, for all of us, to give everyone a chance to be able to shine their light. And Charlie, in our opinion, can I include you in that? In our opinion, Charlie is really dedicated to shining his light and seeing this through. So first,
but it's good to ask questions.
It is.
It's good to question people.
Yeah.
That is so important in this, especially in this environment right now that we're in, because there is so much lies and deceit happening everywhere. So it's we have to be diligent about that.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing, I'll just make it.
Obviously, we've all been fooled before, right? We've gotten to a place where we woke up and we're like, oh my gosh, these people have lied to us. So it's raw. We're in that raw state right now. So everybody's in question. There's no doubt about it. And our actions are all being watched as they should be.
That's exactly right.
Go ahead, Lokesh.
I was going to say we started with synchronicity is such a beautiful word. I think we started our call with synchronicity, and like Charlie and Colin, you mentioned, people asking about the financial stuff. I think we just have to wait for that moment instead of, just keep asking people when we're going to get the money. And then it's also, I think it reminds me of the song by Tom Petty called The Waiting. He says the waiting is the hardest part. Such a beautiful song. And it always, because whenever I'm impatient, I'm like, wait, I just have to wait. So, Tom Petty, I love him. Like, and we talked about music last time. So just want to remind people, we had a call last week as well. So some of the questions that we're getting, we answered last week. And I think that video is up on Charlie's YouTube channel as well. Yesterday morning it went live. So if anybody is wondering, what happened to my questions, they might have been answered in that video. And then, so we'll, if you don't mind, we'll continue with start with one question. Right?
Well, let me, if I can, Lokesh, let me finish, because there's a couple of really, really key points here that need to just quickly be addressed, and I'll do so right now. So first off, Nasara is very, very real, and yes, this has been the plan of the goodly godly ones. There has been a plan for a long time. And this goes back to these Aryans, and this goes back to northern India, and this whole flow of goodliness and godliness that has swept the earth right through to the Tartarians until the mud floods, literally 150 years ago. So we're not that far removed from these ancients who built the pyramids, built all of these miracles through the genius of the right brain, two worlds as one. So this is what we're dealing with. So it is very, very real. And the monies that were used to be able to pay off the debt for every single nation, and therefore every single individual on this earth, came from ancient wealth created by these goodly, godly Aryans. And then the moment that it was paid to the Fed and took all the debt for every single human being, boy, you talk about dying on the cross, that is dying on the cross in that moment, handed it over to the Fed, absolved all debt obligations relating to their criminal system. And then the very first thing that they did is they served these last emissaries of the Fed with over 1,000 criminal charges, and they immediately seized all of their records, and they seized all of their funds. They took back the north of 11 trillion dollars, and they took it all back. And now they will go through a lawful investigation for all of their criminal activities. So it's beautiful beyond belief. But the wealth is there from goodly, godly people that came before. So this is all real. The system that you've been living for the last 100 years is a fake. It's a forgery. And it's so important for you to look at Nasara, that it is more than any kind of gift. No, it's giving back to you what God intended for you. That's all. That's all. A good person like Donald Trump, Cyrus, is simply opening these doors back to a direct connection with our Holy Heavenly Father, and we're taking back what is lawful. And that's where we're going to get to, because things are either lawful or they're unlawful. And there's only 3 basic laws. So it's so simple. And that's what it's going to be like moving forward. And remember, money, money, money. You'll never, ever, ever have to have a job and go back to work ever again if you want to deal with virtue and righteousness. This has been made so clear. I cannot stress this enough. There is going to be a limitless amount of funds for people. And you go, but it can't possibly be me. I have this idea, but it's just me, and it involves, 16 acres. Trust me, everybody who wants to serve God and God's creation, all of God's creation, monies are going to be made available to you to do this, and you'll never have to go back to work again. This is one of the powerful reasons why this is playing out the way it's playing out, with not being allowed to go back to school, not being allowed to go back to work. They're trying to show you what used to be. This ridiculous 100 years of a job and pensions and retirement and all this stuff is completely insane.
So it's the silver lining, right? That's going to be offered.
Yeah, a couple of days back, I heard that the White House was lit up with gold lighting, silver lighting, and purple lighting. Did you see that picture?
Yep.
I wanted to quickly ask you, you mentioned Cyrus for Donald Trump. For people who are wondering, and I'm wondering too, what does Cyrus mean? Like,
okay, so this is from the Old Testament and the book of Isaiah, which is a great book. There's so much flat earth stuff.
yeah.
There's so much flat earth stuff in the book of Isaiah. So it's crazy. Yeah, beautiful, just beautiful. And in chapter 45, there is a pestilence over the righteousness and virtue of the earth in and amongst the Holy Land and the second Holy Land, which is the land between the Tigris and the Euphrates. So the Middle East between Persia and Babylon. And so there was a righteous king of that area, and this was Cyrus, and he was the king of both Persia, Babylon, and the lands in between. Media from Latin is middle, but it's spelled media. So Cyrus, who was the king of both Persia and Babylon, higher realm, lower realm, blue shift, red shift, right path, left path. He was also the king of the lands in between, which was Media, which is spelled media. So Cyrus became the king of the media as well, which, by the way, Trump is. He's just allowing these demons to show you their plans in plain sight, because we have to see it to believe it, not be told about it. So that's why he's allowing this to occur. So this is King Cyrus, who was goodly, godly, and God came to him and asked him, because God, remember, God is this. God is stillness and silence. That's why there are always these heroes that have to step up, that many are called, few are chosen. And the reason that few are chosen is because very few want to do the work. You have to do the work to be able to receive this gift to be chosen by God. And Cyrus is one. And when you read it, it's just Donald Trump. Just read it for yourself. It's the book of Isaiah, starting at chapter 45. Chapter 45. Who's the 45th president of the United States? Trump, Donald Trump. And the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, it's all about Cyrus. And Cyrus is cleansing the land. What did Trump say in 2016 when he ran? We're going to drain the swamp. Isn't draining the swamp very much like cleansing the land? Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And when we showed you in that big podcast of ours that we did through Mark Devlin, which was part 2 of the 3-part series of the takedown of the cabal, we showed you how Trump went from country to country, powerful body to regulatory body to corporation across this vast earth. And he took down, forced capitulation upon all of them. And they had to have a public act of capitulation. Read the book of Isaiah chapter 45 with Cyrus. It's the exact same thing. And God opened doors for Cyrus. And when he walked through those doors with great strength and wisdom, strength in his fist and wisdom upon his brow. And when these demons looked into Cyrus's eye, their gaze fell. Their gaze fell to the ground, and they bowed and they kneeled before Cyrus, because they saw the light of God upon his brow and within his eyes. I'm sorry, but I see it every time I see Donald Trump. I see the strength in his fists. I see the light, the wisdom upon his brow and the light within his eyes. It seems pretty obvious to me. And so it is so literal to what's happening with Trump. That's how you know that what's going on right now, everyone, is not just physical. This isn't just John F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump, great friends, coming to rescue all of us through the plan created by his father and uncle, JFK and RFK. It's more than that. This is goodliness and godliness, and we have won. And every time goodliness stands up for itself, it will always win. It has to, because it's the way. We are the way. We are the light. We are the world. All we have to do is be that. So I hope that explains it to everyone, but this is so biblical. This is so godly, and it is so amazing. Right?
Right.
Yeah, so I wanted to tie that in with also, we were talking about silver earlier. We got a couple of questions about gold and silver because, you know, a lot of people are saying they're getting out of people are getting out of the stock market and the banks. I mean, taking money out of the banks and stock market, putting it in gold and silver, and the prices are going to go up. And Trump has also mentioned the currency is going to be gold backed. So do you recommend, even people are asking where to buy gold and silver, but that's probably not out of the topic. But what I wanted to ask you is like, is gold and silver the future, and what can people do about it? Right?
Well, here's the first thing. Colleen and I are not partaking in any of it because we just don't think along those lines. We recognize that the way the system is right now, that money is necessary, but we really spend little to no time ever thinking about money. We trust, and when you trust, things have to flow, and when you're goodly godly, they're going to flow in abundance. So we trust. So we're not going to take any steps to do anything. But for you absolutely can. And I'm going to make this so powerfully clear. Trump and Q and everyone in between, including people like Q on Galt, have made it very, very clear that moving forward, these precious metals that are backing our currency, are going to go up in value. So what essentially they're saying to us is that a minimum of 5 times. So if you're looking at the price of gold being, what was it, 1,300, 2,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
If it goes up, five times, you're now at 10,000 an ounce. So that's what they're saying, is that you're looking at a minimum, and it could be more, it could be quite a bit more as we move toward this. But remember, all of your debt is going to be removed. It has to, it's illegal. So that's just the first thing to understand. Usury interest cannot exist. I've explained this so many times. You cannot have interest against principal.
So you're saying your mortgage,
everything, credit card
debt,
debt, medical debt, car debt, house debt, and then
student loans.
That student loans, all debt is going to go. Whatever you've done, sort of privately between somebody else, is
personal debt.
Is up to you. That's right. That's your thing. But in terms of any registered debt, it's all going the way of the dodo, because it can't exist. It's a lie. It's not legal. It's not lawful, and it cannot exist, and it will no longer exist. All taxes are going, and that includes, we've had so many questions. And remember, folks, I am, once again, in the last 76 days of Facebook, I've been suspended 59 of the last 76 days. So I am the biggest goon in the social media world. I've got the most penalty minutes, and I'm in the penalty box all the time, and I'm not allowed to comment at all. So when you send these questions, I wish, and Colleen has no time to do it. That's why we're doing this. But so many people have asked about property tax. It's going to go. It's illegal. It's crime. It's theft. It's going to go. Of course, it's going to go. Property tax. Bye. All taxes are gone. The only tax. So I mean, everything gone. The only tax that will still exist, will stay, is a point of sale tax on things that are non-essential. So if something is essential, you have to have it. You can't tax it, because again, that's taking power over the individual. You can't do that. You cannot have a free society if we exhort pressure power over the individual. We have to exalt the individual and then collectively live together because we choose to, not because we're forced to. So the only debt, point of sale tax for non-essential items. And that you'll see is more than enough money that they need to be able to run government through. And remember, all these years with all the taxes, it hasn't been going to you. The exchequery for the Federal Reserve banking system has been done through Rome and has been run through the Jesuits. The Society of Jesus has been controlling the money. You might want to put 2 and 2 together here, folks, okay? And remember, other people love and honor and exalt Jesus as much as Colleen and I do. You can't do it any greater or more than we do, because Colleen and I exist to follow the example of Jesus Christ, to become Christ Jesus. So remember, we love the true Jesus Christ, okay, when we say things like this. But these Jesuits, the ones who sell you this Jesus is God kind of bullcrap, they're the ones that have been running the Fed. They're the ones that have taken all of this money. That's why when Trump was at Whirlpool and before and after Whirlpool factory, he kept in his speeches talking about these middlemen. Who are these middlemen? And they were sucking all the money away. And that's why prices were so high. And he's just going, all we've done is we got rid of the middlemen. And so now that's how we can take all of these pharmaceutical prices and drop them all the way down. So these pens that we're selling for $400 for, a single pen to help these highly allergic or diabetic kids are now, what was the price we just saw? $4. $4 from $400. Wow. What an evil guy. What a Jesuit. Donald Trump's an evil Jesuit and stuff. Just open your eyes. Stop listening to this crap that some of these angry, go nowhere, so-called truthers are just constantly spinning. The gig's up. Donald Trump is a great guy. Donald Trump and his family are goodly, godly. Yeah, the jig's up. The crap that they're spinning to you is so long proven that that's just a complete lie. So yeah, this time, if you're not 100% on the bandwagon, jump onto it, because this is the future. This is the way.
So I just wanted to quickly ask you, because the elections are less than 2 months away, what's going to happen if, all of us are pretty much sure Trump is going to win, but I've been talking to a couple of friends, who are not into the Q movement and, all this stuff. I talked to them. They're like, no way, because they follow the mainstream media. They're like, no way Trump is going to win. Everybody's fed up. So I wanted to ask you, I know it's just great because there's always polarity. We live in a dualistic world. So I wanted to ask you, what happens, even if, let's say, there's 1% chance Trump doesn't win, what happens to things like Sarah or everything good that he's doing? What
it'll go away. It will go away. These are the demons. But the thing is, and I always hesitant to say it, because we have to maintain our diligence and we have to be ready on November 3rd. And remember, November 3rd is a day of meditation and a day of prayer. So you need to get inside yourself on November 3rd and visualize the world on November 4th. See the world on November 4th, and you'll see the miracle that will occur the evening of November 3rd. And this massive overnight, like the hand of God was involved. And you'll see overnight the whole of the United States in one night change to goodly and godly.
And the whole world is going to be watching.
And the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching.
And even those who don't believe right now, deep inside, they're all just hoping that we're right.
That's right. That's right. So at the risk of encouraging some people to be complacent, don't be complacent. But Trump is going to win in the biggest landslide. And all you have to do to know 100% why, all you have to do is just watch that little video that we put up on our YouTube channel about Sleepy Joe Biden. And I mean, how many people can legitimately vote for that clown? That's disturbing, because he's literally running for the position of, seemingly the greatest power on this earth.
Yeah, I think people are so brainwashed. Even if you see those kind of clips where Biden sleeping, in an interview,
Literally.
they'd be like, oh, but yeah, sorry, what's that, Colin?
Literally sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. And spiritually speaking, sleeping. But then, Trump, Trump haters will say, oh yeah, but Trump does stupid things too. But I mean, there's no logic, right? You can't, they go into this loop. It's the same thing we were talking about last time, the vegetarianism. Like if you start talking to people, they'll come up with these excuses that, oh, proteins and all that. It's the same thing. They come, oh, Trump does this. So it's just, I think, but everybody has a right and freedom to think and choose for themselves. But I think what we are talking about is the truth, and then, yeah. So we'll find out, but I'm pretty sure Trump is gonna. Well, this is the first time I'll be voting. Like I was saying, I just became a citizen. Yeah, I know.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I just like September of last year, and then I didn't even know, about anything about politics until this whole CV-19 pandemic started happening. I started following the Q movement. I mean, I knew about Q on and off for 3-4 years, but then after this thing started happening, I was like, I need to know what's going on. And then I was like, oh, I need to follow Trump and what he's doing, because behind the scenes, obviously, mainstream media is not going to show us anything. And yeah, so probably that's a good segue. People might be wondering why you're not picking my question. So I will just, if you don't mind, can I pick one question? Yeah. All right, so let's start with Jane D. She's asking, hi, Charlie and Colleen. I have been awake to the deep state for decades now. I have supported President Trump from the beginning, yet I'm uncomfortable with his environmental policies. I just saw a documentary on this topic that showed how some of the indigenous people of Northern Alaska will be losing a great part of their lands to oil companies. It's where the caribou live and graze, and it is 80% of the tribe's diet. Another Native American tribe in Utah is losing some of the sacred land to big oil also. This is so disturbing to me on many fronts. Can you comment on Trump's policies? Thank you for all your work, Jane.
You want me to run with that one? Yeah, it's all, the oil stuff is all code. So, and then you would say to yourself, well, then why doesn't he just make it, why doesn't he make it more obvious? And why the confusion? Because even amongst his supporters, why the confusion with all of this encoded messages? Because he's talked about fracking. That's purposeful. There's no mistake. There's no mistake. They know what happens when you frack underneath the ground. It's a violent act. That's contrary to everything else that they say. So then that's code. So then you have to look at the word, and you have to look at especially the states that they're talking about. And he always kind of mentions it with regard to Pennsylvania. And it's the East Coast. It's that whole diseased East Coast that runs from Boston down to Washington, D.C. and the cleansing, the fracking. Which
I have to interject here. They are still working on the underground tunnels. They are under the ground, and they are trying to eradicate all of these facilities that have been in operation for God knows how long, perhaps hundreds of years, and they are in the midst, and they're working diligently to extract the children, to destroy the tunnels and the facilities. So this is a process it isn't going to happen in a couple of months. They've been working at it, and they're going to be working at it for possibly years. So when they talk about these things, they are fracking or, doing these kind of things. They are under the ground as we speak, working all over the world, the entire world, Argentina, the Falkland Islands. We're talking Canada, the United States, everywhere.
And like we broke for you with regard to Australia. And again, I apologize for all of our wonderful Australian friends, because I know from overall, I think they're very thankful for all the things that we've shared with them. But then I think many of them feel that we've kind of abandoned them. You just have to remember that Facebook is, because of this stuff, they've thrown me in jail for a reason. And that is because where most people could casually stay in touch with me, where I could update things daily, they've taken it away. So if I had access to Facebook, then things would be very different with regard to Colleen and I and the information that we could have been sharing with people to help people. But that's what they do. They attack the ones that they absolutely know are telling the truth and are making a difference, and they neutralize them. So that's why we're taking the step towards creating an incredible website, and then we're free for anyone who wants to join us. But something that Colleen knows this as well, and we just want to bring this forward. Now, there's a gentleman by the name of Gene Decode, and Gene's been making a big splash. He's everywhere and whatnot. Now, what we wanted to just tell you with Gene is that not everything that Gene is saying is 100% accurate. It's out the hands of man. We can't possibly know everything accurately. There are things that he pushes, such as clones and how this process occurs and whatnot. There's only God can bestow consciousness. You just need to wrap your heads around that. So whatever they're doing with clones, it isn't a life form with consciousness.
It's artificial intelligence
for sure.
Mixed with whatever.
Hey, that's right. I agree with Colleen,
know.
But we don't know. But what we can absolutely assure you,
it's not a duplicate of another person.
No, because again, there's only one person that can bestow consciousness, and this goes back to creation. Everything was done in 6 days. There's nothing new under the sun. All of the children that you see coming back, this is just all part of the reincarnation process, the samsara, the wheel in the left hemisphere of the brain. So there's nothing new under the sun. So no, but what Gene has been sharing with everyone with staggering accuracy is all of these tunnel systems and incredibly like how far along they are with cleaning up these what's been done and what's not been done.
And you can correlate this information with the
to Q. He right, released a post as well.
Just even the earthquake. The earthquake, if you look on the pages of the internet and you look up earthquakes, and there's small earthquakes all over, and they will correlate to what Gene is talking about as well. And obviously there's other people saying that there are fires coming out from the manholes in certain areas. And there's a lot of DUMBs that are deep underground military bases, or
California
even just deep underground
wildfires.
Facilities. They don't always have to be military. And that's what they've discovered, is that there are so many they didn't even know about that are under there, that they have to, some of them are right underneath cities. So you can imagine how tough it would be to go and just blow them up, right? You can't just have this large earthquake over top of all of these, but it's very difficult. So the planning and the strategy would be incredible, that we have no idea of what they're having to do.
And they couldn't possibly have known this. So you can't blame the plan because, well, they didn't plan this. How could you possibly know? But that's the thing. It's on us. It's not on them. It's on us. We have allowed these demons for 100+ years to run amok and take all the money, because it's all fake monopoly money, to be able to pay people with monopoly money to work and work and work and work and work or work around the clock. It's like the 5G network. And now there are people in Australia, because there has to be a question about this. And people are now freaking out again over the last couple of days because of another couple of these just vile videos from people. And whether they mean well or not, I'm just telling you, they're not accurate. So now there's videos everywhere, and there's chemical bombs in the upper atmosphere, and we've got satellite imagery, and look, and these are all harsh chemicals that they've exploded over Australia, and you and your kids are soon going to die and stuff. And then there's another video that's going on right now that you know, this you know, Tesla tower stuff is a load of crap, and that the 5G towers have actually started up, and that they're actually rolling with the 5G signal. Lies, 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 guaranteed lies. And that's just all you're getting. Whether people are doing this because they're part of the deep state, whether people are doing this because they just want subscribers and views on their channel, I don't know. But the bottom line is they're lying to you. There are no chem bombs over Australia. There's no, if you see cirrus clouds over Australia, they're not filled with smart dust and heavy metals anymore, okay? We stopped that. That has been eradicated. And the 5G network, if they had turned it on, you would all know, because they could kill you with the strongest of the frequencies, with the smart dust and the heavy metals that are already in you. So if what they were saying was true, you'd see people dropping dead, not just dropping unconscious, dropping dead in the moment.
And now would be the time they would be doing it.
Of course they would. And if there were nuclear bombs, don't you think with these Lucifer bombs that started in Beirut and then went through LUCIFER on this little path of Satanism, with those bombs, which were stunning bombs of enormous power, but they're not nuclear devices. If they had nuclear devices, why didn't they have an evil plan for everything? So where's their evil plan with all of the nuclear devices? Again, you've just been lied to nonstop for 100 years. And the poor people in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and elsewhere, more than anything else, what you're really suffering from right now are the lies, because there are certain clever people that are watching the steps that governments are taking, and that's unilateral. Every government, Canada as well, they're all following the same pattern of strict rules and police presence, and you got to wear your mask, because they're trying to keep you on the ridiculous COVID narrative, so that you're not freaking out about underground tunnels and doomsday bombs and you know, all the things that are happening underneath the ground, because then your imaginations really run rampant and you really become scared, and even more people will begin to take their lives. So there's a real criminality that's going on right now, folks, with regard to the vile videos and lies that are spewing out of especially Australia right now. And just know that these people, they're reaping their rewards, and they're going to get their just rewards soon for lying like this. There are no 5G towers active anywhere in the world, not one. And nobody is exploding chem bombs over any country, not one. There's no worries. There's zero worries for the people in Australia. You just have to be patient, because this process is insane. So like we reported to you, the first wave that went through there uncovered an enormous tunnel system. Once the Americans came through with training and equipment and left things in the hands of the Aussies to, you know, complete the task, they found an entire another labyrinth, another level, and it was far worse. And so, you know, we just heard from Charlie Ward today. I haven't done any research to know anything about this, but Charlie just quoted a massive number. And Charlie Ward is saying that this is a very recent intel that he just received, that just in the last 2 weeks, which has come out of the second wave of tunnels in Australia, is that it like New Zealand, it has been used as kind of like a capture center for all of these kids in the Southern Hemisphere, and that they've been taken and stored there. And so Charlie threw out a number that was between 300,000 and 1 million. And that's just in the second wave of tunnels underneath Australia, and predominantly in the Victoria State, Melbourne, Victoria State area.
So this is an incredibly orchestrated operation that they've had under the ground, right? I mean, we can't even wrap our minds around what this all entailed for them to have this system under the ground with all of these children. Just, I don't even like to talk about it, but yeah, it's crazy. So we have to understand that this is way beyond what we're seeing on the surface, right?
Yeah. Thank you for that. That answers a lot of the questions actually people have been asking about on the chat. But I'm going to segue a little bit into the vaccines. I got a few questions from about the vaccines, and I think people are again freaking out. But I think I saw one of your earlier videos, Charlie. You mentioned that it's a good thing because Trump has taken over the vaccine process, and they're trying to make it into a positive vaccine. And I'm actually going to read out this question I got from, it's from Donna Kyle. She says, hi, Charlie and Collywog. Thank you so much to both of you for being who you are and doing what you do. You bring and my husband no end of support on many levels. I think she meant, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, however, I have a question that has been popping in my head for a couple of days, being the serum vaccine. I love everything you guys say and it all resonates. I teach Kundalini yoga, but you mentioned this serum twice now, and both times I felt warning bells go off. So I need to scratch that itch, if you know what I mean. Charlie mentioned it in a manner that seemed very off the cuff, and living in Spain, I am on high alert regarding any vaccine, as I'm sure you can imagine. I get that I need to look at my own reaction to that. Personal growth is a passion, but also would be very grateful if you could explain a bit about more about that. Like, where is that info coming from, and is that a plan? Is there a plan? Obviously, you are pretty busy, so perhaps answer this in another podcast. Best wishes, Satnam Donna Kyle.
Great question, Donna. And also to go back to the previous question about, the native tribes, Aboriginal tribes, the peoples of Alaska as well, and the caribou and whatnot. There's not going to be any oil. It's all code. It's all coded. There are messages, and it's all messaging, coding, fracking. Fracking is taking down the dumbs. So when Donald Trump talks about, it's very important that fracking and moving forward, we have to frack and frack and frack, and we have to keep the economy strong and stuff. So he's just trying to tie in ways so that the mainstream media doesn't catch on to any of this, and then they go crazy with the news about these conspiratorial theories from Trump. It all has to sound, do you see where we're going with this? It all has to sound plausible enough at one level for the moronic mainstream media to be able to go, okay, he's just weird the way he says stuff. And that's how Trump gets away with so much stuff and so many messages, because he's just a weirdo. That's why Trump has done things that have sounded so weird, because he's just establishing this pattern that then can be written off. So don't examine what he's saying, just write it off that he's an idiot. And which, by the way, they've done. The left-brainers, the Canaanites, this is what these people have done. They've just written him off that he's an idiot. So when they talk about oil companies and oil expansion and going underneath the ground and extracting because it's good for our economy, and then fracking, and fracking is so important. No. Nikola Tesla, remember the towers? They took over the 5G network, and it's now Tesla towers, and they have people working around the world right now making Tesla coils, and the Tesla coils are flying out all over in these airplanes from China, right? Because China has the most incredible manufacturing base, and that China is no longer ruled by an evil communist dictatorship. There's a Chinese republic, and the republic is trying to make amends for all of the evil things that have come out of China. And so what you don't know and what you don't see is behind the scenes, mankind working overtime to help mankind. So it's beautiful beyond belief, but you don't see that. And they can't say that, because if Trump came out and say that, cuckoo, not conspiracy theorist, and the election is now up in question because you can't vote for a cuckoo, everything will change on November 4th. You have to show the faith in Cyrus. You have to show the trust and the love and the patience for God's plan. It's all coming. I guarantee you. We wouldn't be telling you any of these things unless we absolutely know all of these things.
And you know that there's been technology that's been suppressed.
Of course,
you know it.
Of course
so
you do.
If the cabal is taken out, you then know that all of this suppressed technology has to come out, right? And they will hit the ground running with this stuff because it's all been probably tested as well. So it's very exciting, and they're not going to need these archaic types of technology that we've had in the past. So just know that is going to happen. It has to happen. It will happen.
The med beds are real. All of these technologies that can do instantaneous scans that,
healing with light. And that was a code that Trump also did, right?
Exactly.
He said in the beginning, he was talking about hydroxychloroquine, and he was saying different types of modalities and different types of healing. And he was saying, light, even on the inside of you, he was saying light. And it just totally makes sense.
And so everyone always wants to, because it's easier and it's more fantastical, and it ties into the lies that they've taught us for 100 years and aliens and all these things. It's always easier to just say that Colleen and Charlie are insiders with the Q team and we're being fed information, versus then going, no, they're just decoding what's being said in plain sight. And so all you have to do, we've always said this. We started with Mark Devlin. We said it to everybody all the way through. Take the time to read the Q posts and then reread them, because they're beautiful, they're goodly, they're godly, and they're loaded with truth. All we have to do is see the truth in plain sight. It's all connective. You just have to think the way that they think to see the holism of the messages, because everything with them is turning light to dark. And now we have to turn dark to light. Everything's about turning the darkness to light.
Exactly. And a few things that we did that make it easier for us is we stepped out of society about 11 years ago. And we then went to vegetarianism and then veganism, and now we're in mostly fruitarianism. So we've been spending time cleaning this vessel, and so the clarity with which we can see is like 1,000 times more than we ever could before. So this isn't something that we're special. We've just spent the time doing
the work,
and you guys can too. Anybody can do this. And it's important that we start, because the gifts and the rewards are built into it. It's amazing. But the things that we will do in the future will be far greater than what we're doing now. And I don't want to say humanity, but mankind. It's amazing the things that we will discover that we have forgotten.
What has Trump said himself, and what has Q said himself? They both have said this, that there are over 6,000 suppressed technologies. And I think Trump was the one that specified and a lot of it in the area of healthcare. So they've already told you. They've already told you that this is all out there. It's just you don't see it. You don't hear it. You're not trusting in it. You're not believing in any of this. You're still listening to the me. That's why when probably you're only hearing it from me, because Colleen wouldn't say that. But at the risk of sounding egoic, that's why we say, don't stray far from Freak Sense TV. That's why we said at the top of the show about Santos Bonacci, don't stray very far from Santos and us, because we're telling you the whole truth. And you can always know that because everything that we teach you or tell you or share with you ties into everything else. That's why you're saying, oh, wow, what you guys, it just makes me, it's because it's connecting dots. That's what the truth does.
Just until you can get to the place where you're connecting your own dots, right? When you clean yourself up and you can just connect your own dots, because you shouldn't have to seek outside of yourself.
Yeah. And that's why we're writing the book that we're writing, which is The Hieroglyphics of the English Language. This is a gift to you. This book is not just symbology, it's numerology, it's everything. It's going to gift to you the wholeness of God's creation and all of the symbols and numbers that are at play here. And then it'll become like a Bible to you, and it'll be your go-to resource manual. It's going to be one of those books that the binding is just, bent right back, because you're going to have it open to this page and that page all the time. That's what it's designed to do.
And this is the beginning of what we're going to be learning. And when you read it, and you discover all of these things, you're going to be able to put gnosis inside of that as
right.
well. And then we're all going to be, you know, sharing, and just this gnosis will grow, and it'll be like, oh my gosh, it'll be amazing what we will be able to do when we have these packages of information that we've been suppressed from for so long.
Yeah.
So,
we're,
people,
yeah.
I was going to just ask, people who are worried about vaccines, basically they shouldn't worry about it, right?
No, so that's why
They will not be mandatory.
That's first off, they're not going to be mandatory. So what are you worried about? But I said, and this is, I hope people picked up on this, because I tried to make it abundantly clear. What's going to be funny is that all of these angry, doubtful, hating truthers that don't jump on board with any of this stuff with Trump, they're going to be the ones that are going to be demanding this vaccine. When they find out what's been going on, what the 5G network was really designed to do, what the COVID-19 was really hiding, and what chemtrails are all about, these are the very same people, the ones that all vaccines are evil and Trump is the devil and he's Lucifer and all of this stuff. They're going to be the very first ones that are running to the front of the line going, no, I want my vaccine first. I want it first. Give it to me first. Because what these vaccines, this first one that they're rolling out, it's designed to focus upon the smart dust and the heavy metals that are in your body and neutralize them. Because that was the whole plan with the 5G network. The 5G network, these horrific beta waves were designed to accentuate the smart dust that was inside of you, and it was going to zombify you, and there's a frequency that would have killed you. So they had you.
They won't have any nanobots inside of the vaccines. They won't have any RFID, whatever that is, chip. And they won't have any toxins or mercury. And that's what Robert Kennedy has been trying to educate people as well. Investigate what these things were, and be knowledgeable, and do your own investigation and be wise. And so we have to raise up an entire mass of people that were just gullible and sheeple. And we were one of them, 15 years ago. We had our own views on things, but we absolutely didn't see what we see now. So people are at different levels, but there's definitely going to be a group of people that, like Charlie says, that will just want, that safety. Just give me that vaccine so I never get coronavirus. And it'll take them a while before they understand that this was a contrived pandemic, and that it isn't really what they think. And then we'll have to educate them on what a virus really is, because they can't hear our voices right now. All they hear is want, 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 want. You just all they think is, no, I have relatives who died of COVID because the doctor told me. So these people just want that peace of mind so that they won't die. But when they discover what this really has been all about, then their minds will be opened.
So beautiful call, so wonderful, my angel. And so the vaccine. So first, I want to make a comment about Robert Kennedy Jr. This is that we were just saying this to Charlie Ward as well, and just clarifying the group that is behind all of this is so small, because who can you trust the system with these rats and the fake money they bought off everybody? So what you need to know first and foremost is that these military families, and then the Kennedys and the Trumps, that's it. And they don't trust anybody else. So no offense to us and none taken, but they don't know us. So, and they don't know the first thing about it. I think obviously from the message that they've directly communicated to us, they respect us and think that we're goodly, godly people, and that's beautiful. But they don't trust us because they don't know us. This group, this plan is so small. It is so well insulated and protected because it has to be. It has to be. So you can trust the plan. I do, so should you. Okay? And it's teaching you to trust you. It's teaching you to trust God. It's teaching you to trust in righteousness, that there's a group that are doing things the right way, and that righteousness will always win.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, didn't you always think if there's that much evil, there has to be a balance of that much good? And you're just like, well, where are they? Why aren't they stepping up? Where are these people who are smarter? Where are these people that care more? Where are the people in authority that are saying, no, don't do this? They were there, but they had to do it subvertively. They knew that they couldn't just overtly go over and just attack these people because there were so many of them and so deep underground. I mean, we didn't understand what was happening under the ground. This isn't just, taking care of the surface. Millions and millions and millions, maybe billions of people underneath the ground. Hello, can we even grasp what that means? Right? Like it's going to shock the hell out of all of us when we discover what's been happening. Like, it's just like a nightmare, but we have to assimilate all of that information, and then we have to move forward, and we have to know that that's being eradicated. And thank God it is. And that's the only thing that's going to stop them. And we're going to be able to move forward because Donald Trump has drained the swamp.
Yeah. So what you need to know is that everybody is playing a massive role in this plan, in this tiny group of families, goodly, godly families. So the Kennedys are all in. So, and one of the people that has just been put through hell is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because he has put himself in a position right smack dab middle with regard to vaccinations. And on one hand, he is hated by the mainstream, and it's tarnished the Kennedy family name because he has riled against vaccines. But then he always says, hey, I'm in favor of vaccines, but you have to get it right. It cannot be mandatory. You have to get it right. Go ahead.
So these people, here's a term that we're going to get used to here. It's called LARP, live action role players. And this is what we can call them. What does Mark Devlin call them? Actors, lifetime actors.
Yeah, lifetime actors.
And that's what these people have been. Their entire lives have been a role. And Trump, who knows how long he's been acting in this role.
Long time.
Right. So it might look like they were able to just infiltrate, the deep state, but they were playing a role. So they had to make some of them even look like they were on the other side. I would suggest maybe even Carolyn Kennedy at this point is still being a live action role player, I'm hoping, because she just endorsed Joe Biden. And you're just like, what the hell is that about? Right. But then you're just like, no, it can't be possible. It can't be possible. So these are live action role players that when all of this is said and done, we'll see them maybe come back on stage. Did you ever see the movie The Game with Michael Douglas? And all of all of these people were playing in this action game for him. Right. $1 million his brother paid for this game or something. And it's just like, that's what I relate to. I'm just like, all of these people are playing a part, and it's just so intricate. And you're like, that can't be possible. But it is possible. This plan has been out for 70 years or longer. And can you imagine?
John F. Kennedy, the slain president's gravesite is a cue. This plan has been out there. Star Trek, Roddenberry, Enterprise, the Q character, Picard, all of these shows are all foreshadowing what's coming and trying to teach you the righteousness in a goodly, godly manner and a goodly, godly approach. So Robert Kennedy Jr., I just want to put a big shout out to Robert Kennedy Jr. on behalf of Colleen and I, because we see what that man has had to do. He's hated by the truthers, he's hated by the mainstream, and he has a very small group of people in the middle that are supportive of him because they've actually taken the time to listen to what he's saying. So he is in favor of vaccines. So would I be on the same conditions that Robert Kennedy Jr. is talking about. So he's saying cannot be mandatory. They have to be tested and proved completely safe with no toxins within them. And they have to be proven effective. So if they're proven effective, they're not harmful in any way, and they are a choice, then why do you have a problem with any of this, right? Mm-hmm. Why are signals still going off in your head when there's an alternative here, when there's free choice? Everything's about free choice. And remember, if Donald Trump didn't do these things, there are 100 million Americans that are clamoring, screaming every day, why are you not taking this seriously? And why haven't you got us a vaccine? Because Hillary Clinton would have had a vaccine ready by this time, right? But there would have been dead babies in that vaccine. So we can't have that. It takes a little bit longer. And so what this vaccine, I find it funny in a way that the people in the truth community screaming the loudest at Trump and these vaccines, how evil they are, I'll bet you anything they're going to be the first ones in line, shoving people out of their way, going, no, I want mine first. Because when you find out what they've done to us with these chemtrails, putting the smart dust and the heavy metals into our bodies, and then how they were going to activate them via the 5G waves of these 5G towers, why did they work nonstop for the last, I think it was basically 8 years nonstop, and they spent in excess of $16 trillion in those last 8 years to rush out these 5G towers. Because they knew that they were ready. They had got the smart dust. And that's what 9/11 was foreshadowing. 9 and 11, we've taught you this about 9 is God consciousness, which is your third ventricle of your brain, your inner eye. And 11 are your two temples. So it's symbolizing stripping away your protection and removing God from your existence. But the other thing about 9/11 is all the dust, and everyone was suffering from dust and dust and dust. They were foreshadowing what was coming. That's why it was COVID-19. 19 years after 2001 makes their 2020, which is the upside down vision. And we all see with these upside down spectacles, and they've turned the whole world upside down.
Next question.
Yeah. Actually, someone is quickly asking, when is your book coming out? Do you have any date about the book?
No, but it will happen sooner than later. We've taken the steps to extract myself from show after show after show. We've covered enough ground with enough people to be able to cover pretty much all of the questions. So really moving forward, I've taken myself away from the radio show. So all that I'm going to be doing is just the Fridays for you to answer questions, and we'll put those videos out. And then the rest of the time is me around the clock getting the first book done. And then remember, the second book is the big one, because this is about raising the chrism oil. But of course, you know that it's so much more than that. It's this choice. You have a choice. Everything is a choice. You can live in the left brain and die like you see all around you, or you can live forever at the right-hand side of God. And I'm talking in these physical forms. In these physical forms. All you have to do is regenerate yourself. Everything is about regeneration.
So if not by the end of this year, then for sure in the new year, the book will be out.
Okay. I think people are wondering, they hope it comes out before it's too late.
Not going to be too late.
Never too late.
Not going to be too late.
Folks, just again, because the question is made, then it means that I should address it. So we are the pinnacle of God's creation. If we do not exist, then creation does not exist. There's nothing that anyone can do to end God's creation. Therefore, there is nothing that anyone can do to end the pinnacle of God's creation, which is mankind. We are. For whatever reason, we are. And this is why we powerfully teach you about flat Earth, because the Earth clearly is stationary. It's never moved. And of course, we're at the center of all things. This is the greatest of creation. And you would know that if you knew yourself, and if you knew how incredible your head is, then you would know. And if you take any time to research the sphenoid bone, you will see flat Earth inside of your head. It's right there. Just research the sphenoid bone.
Oh, yeah. So let's go to the next question. So we have one question from Philip and Stephanie Botton. Yeah, and it's about meditation. It's a little bit esoteric, so people just be a little bit patient. So I'm gonna read it out. So hi, Colleen and Charlie. I think I'm a little bit confused regarding meditation. My question is, do I try to visualize the magnetic energy, in bracket Kundalini, uncurling in the sacrum and coming up through the spine and entering the narrow passage of the hypoglossal, or is that just the pneumogastric nerve entrance? Originally, I thought the magnetic energy kundalini came up the spine and went to the right and around and entered through the back of the head. Or do I just try to still my mind with breath work? Apologies for not quite getting it understood. And what is the magnetic energy crossing to create the crucifixion or crucifixion? Also, is chrism oil different from kundalini? Thank you for all your help with love, Steph Barton.
What a great question, hey.
Yeah.
Like for those of you that know, you know that is an incredible question, and there's so many things to address there. So first off, with the kundalini, yes, the kundalini is absolutely tied to the chrism oil because the mother can't get free of the dragon guarding her in the slums beneath 7th Avenue. 7th Avenue is your chakra system. That's the superhighway within you. And so that's where hell on earth exists, which is your Muladhara root chakra, which is the slums, the base, the bottom of 7th Avenue, the superhighway. So she is trapped by the dragon. The dragon is your ego. That's it. So that's why they do what they do to us. That's why they force us into schools. That's why schools are so unloving, uncaring, and they promote bullying in schools, because all they need to do is teach children lies and then to be afraid. And then our ego controls us the rest of our lives. So you see how everything is human physiology? It's all about the left brain, right brain, Cain versus Abel. It is. It's just solely is. So the only way to free the mother is if the child has the courage, Jesus Christ has the courage to free Mary. He has to, because Mary can't get free of the dragon any other way. That's why Super Mario has to go down to the dungeons and fight the mayor of Washington, D.C., Bowser. And do you think that's a coincidence? And slay the dragon and from the bowels, and then return her back up to the peak of the castle. It's all coding you, and you think this stuff is evil or something because it's Nintendo. Yeah, I mean, they use it for evil purposes, but it's God's one story. It's the one truthful story that exists everywhere. Okay, the castle and that highest most turret is your third ventricle, and the door to the right is the pineal gland. So it's just beautiful and perfect. So we have to free Mary by killing the dragon. How do we do that? By doing the work. That's why Colleen and I say to you all the time, and teach and teach and teach. I just put up that new playlist on Freak Sense TV. It's called Eternal Life, Becoming the Alkaline Body and Mind. And there's 7 videos in order, and you watch them again and again, and it takes you through this process. What did they mean by doing the work? That's the work. That's the work. And it starts with your food in the physical realm, and it starts with your breathing in the metaphysical realm, and it goes way deeper than all of that. So this is a team effort, because it's all about the Holy Trinity. Okay, Catholic Church has been lying to you about what the Trinity is. The Trinity, of course, for everything is Father, Mother, Child. Okay, that's how everything works. Father, Mother, Child. So the child has to rescue the mother, who is the Kundalini, coiled up 3.5 times and guarded by the human ego. So we have to destroy or control our left brain, which is the ego. When we do that, we children have been brought into this electrical world. So we don't know how to fly yet. The mother is all about flying, because the mother is magnetism.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
So when you're out of your left brain and you're in your right brain, then you're more magnetic, right? And you're lighter. And you're virtuous. So if you're not using your ego, you're more virtuous, and you just feel lighter when you're doing good things versus bad things, right? So that plays a part too. So you have to have your actions as virtuous as well. And the Kundalini then has the ability to rise.
Well, that's right, because what the Kundalini is magnetic energy. So it is going to rise. All you have to do is just free it, but the child must do that. And remember, we are born into this lie of the Maritime Admiralty laws and our straw man identity as electrical beings, as dead bodies, corpse orations, and electricity. Electricity is death. Electricity is Tesla had this right. And that's why we teach 100 years ago, we had a chance to achieve heaven upon earth. All we had to do was follow Nikola Tesla, man of God, figured it all out from the Tartarians and Aryans, figured it all out, had that path all set for us to the right. Instead, we took Einstein to the left. And this is this ridiculous world of lies and violence and greed and lust and so the left-hand path. Electricity, as Tesla described, is a downward causation. He said that this is what these theorists call gravity. He said there's no such thing as gravity. It's an impossibility, can't exist. And of course, it is an impossibility because there's never been a successful experiment showing, even though we live apparently in a positive gravitational environment, there's no experiment that's ever shown gravity. Okay, wow. So what does exist is the natural downward causation of electricity. So electricity is constantly forcing us down. What's the second thing we know about electricity? Electricity is our transverse waves. They're also known as temporal waves because they are temporary, and you can see them as the oscillating wave in the ocean. Okay, so they go around eternally, around. And when they hit bottom, when there is a request or demand for energy, electrical energy thrusts itself forward violently, and for 60, 70 years, it plays itself out, and then it dies, and it washes back into the sand in the foam until such time that it can be recharged, and around and around and around the wheel you go. So that's your left brain, which is an electrical circuit. The left brain is entirely electricity, and it's an electrical circuit, and you can blow your fuse, and that's all we do in our left brain. We constantly go off our rockers. We're out of our minds because the mind is the third ventricle of the brain here, which is part of the right hemisphere. It's not part of the left hemisphere. There's no way to access the third ventricle of the brain from the left. The only way is to the right. Only way is to the right to get access into the third ventricle. So the left brain is electricity. Electricity is death. And when you say, Charlie, living forever, you had me, you teach some great stuff. But when you start talking about that we can live forever, you're just a kook and you lost me. That's what all of these scriptures have talked about, my friends. They have. Every single scripture talks about the exact same thing, which is that we can live eternally. And then people go, yeah, but in death. Sorry, what? You just said we can live eternally through death. Okay, you just need to stop and think, right? Eternally is life. Eternal is life. So now we have to examine these two principal forms of energy. So we just said electricity is a circuit. It's a downward causation, and it's temporary. It comes and it goes, and this is the samsara. What is magnetism? Magnetism is from the root or the base. It's in the earth. Of course it's in the earth, because what's the earth? Mother Earth. The mother is Mary, who's magnetic. So that's where magnetism exists within, is the earth. The earth is a magnetic frequency. And what are magnetic waves? They're called scalar waves, longitudinal or scalar waves. And they're also known as Tesla waves. I wonder why. Okay, do the math. And what do these scalar waves do? They rise up and they create the eight. What does if you don't know this, check it for yourself. What does the moon do every 28 days? The moon does this. It does an S where we can see it for 14 days. And then the other 14 days when we can't see it, guess what it does? It does another S and it creates an 8. So that's what the moon does. Every 28 days, it makes an 8. That is a scalar wave. What does the sun do in the sky every 365 days? Look it up, check it out. The sun makes an 8. The sun makes an 8. And it's incredible because it's so in tune, like with the Holy Land, where the Sea of Galilee is much smaller than the Dead Sea below. Skull, spine, sacrum. When you look at the Holy Land, God is showing you. Everything is about human physiology, and it's all from the crown, which is the crown chakra, to the Muladhara root chakra. Okay, so from the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea, it's all there for you in plain sight. And this is what the sun does as well. So the sun, because he is so in love with the mother, he is doing this eternal scalar pattern as well. Because if you want to exist forever, you have to be magnetic. You have to be a magnetic frequency, a magnetic scalar wave, because that is the eternal eight. There's no beginning, there's no end. There's just eternity, eternalness. So this is what magnetism is. So when you become magnetic by doing the work, that's why we created that podcast and all these videos. When you do the work to become magnetic within you, then you are releasing the Kundalini. So one, the child has to kill the dragon guarding the mother. Okay, that's your ego. You have to defeat your ego. You do that by the foods that you eat, the breaths that you take, the meditation that you practice, and then the sacred sex. Okay, that's way down the road, but it's fantastic stuff, folks. Don't be scared by anything. It's amazing. It's always in your favor. It's always better than what you currently have. I promise you, everything gets better by following this process. The work is incredible work because it makes everything better, makes you better. So when this occurs, now the mother takes charge. So Jesus is electrical, but he's done the work to defeat the ego, and he's now the Christed one. So he's Christ Jesus, and he's ready to return home to the Father, but he needs help because he's an electrical being. So he's downward causation. He can't go up in the body. So how does Jesus rise up? He needs help from the mother. What is the mother? Kundalini rising. What's Kundalini? Magnetism. What's magnetism? The scalar wave. What's the scalar wave? It's an 8, which starts at the bottom and climbs up and then regenerates. So it's constantly regenerating, which is what our cells do. So that's how Jesus gets home to the Father via the pneumogastric nerve in the opening and the blood-brain barrier, where everything can't get past Atlas. We have to go up and to the right, cast thy net to the right. We have to go with the pneumogastric nerve through the blood-brain barrier and enter back in through the hypoglossal opening in the brainstem. That's the only way, because it leads to the 4th ventricle, which leads to the 3rd ventricle of the brain. And there it is. There it is. Everything is there. Pineal gland father, pituitary gland mother, optic thalamus, which is known as the light of the world, Jesus Christ, which is the child of Joseph and Mary. Pineal gland Joseph, pituitary gland Mary. See, it's all connected. All of these stories are allegorical, but they're literal as well. And it's all there for us, and it's magical and beautiful. So we have to become magnetic. And it's as simple as you cannot do this process. I'm sorry, but you cannot do this process if you're participating in murdering animals. I'm sorry, you cannot. And it's not just because, and that should be enough for you, because thou shalt not kill, and we should not kill God's incredible creation. And all they want to do is love us. Wow. And wow. But the second aspect to it is that they're purely acidic. Their foods are purely acidic. We're alkaline beings. We're frugivores, right? No one's ever challenged Colleen and I in this, because you can't. 100% of what a human being is exactly a frugivore, inside and out. What do frugivores eat? Raw foods. What foods, raw, are they eating? Mostly fruits, some vegetables, some seeds, some nuts, but mostly fruit. So Colleen is crazy about her orange angel. Orange angel. They call it orange juice. They took the L off. What is orange? Orange is orange angel. Golden, or is gold, and angel. So these are golden angles of the sun's light. Oranges are created by these incredibly God-blessed angles of light. They come through the ether at a certain angle, and they are blessing these fruits. So orange juice, pure, if you buy it from a store and they've pasteurized it, then you might as well, you're wasting your money. Because what is pasteurization? Louis Pasteur, let's give him a big award, and he's the greatest scientist ever. No, he's a demon. He's an absolute demon. Because what's pasteurization? No, it's saving, Charlie. It's good because it's killing all the bacteria. Oh, wow. No, they're killing life. Everything that's good for you is just what's there in orange juice. When you heat it up, high temperatures, you kill it. You take all the life out of it, and then it's just laying there. No, but it's got pulp in it, Charlie. It's real. No, it's not. It's dead. Pasteurization
So
kills.
that's why when you do things like that, you have to squeeze the oranges yourself, and then it's fresh.
Yeah. So talking about vegetarianism, there's a couple of questions I got, and I was reading YouTube comments too from our last video. People say, "Oh, but plants have life too." You know, that's another argument that they have is, "Oh, even if you're vegetarian, you're still plants have life." Do you have any?
It's a pathetic argument,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
go ahead, Charlie.
Would you like me to dismantle that in seconds?
Yeah.
Again, they don't have a central nervous system. So cows do. And here's the thing, this is just blows everything away in seconds, okay? Well, what happens when you don't eat fruits and vegetables? They go to seed. If you don't eat your lettuce, what does your lettuce do? First off, the lettuce produces brilliant leaves, and all you have to do with those leaves is to ingest them, and they're fantastic. Colleen and I have salad every single day. They're just delicious, fantastic, wonderful, amazing. Okay, it's green, it's life. So, but if you don't pick the beautiful, perfect lettuce leaves, it goes immediately to seed. Okay, and then what happens? You come back in 3 weeks, and where there was one lettuce plant, there's now 7, and each of them are growing these perfect lettuce leaves. And if you don't pick them, they all go to seed. And you come back 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that, there's now 49 lettuce plants, and they're all producing perfect leaves. And if you don't eat them, they all go to seed. And you come back 3 weeks after that, and there's now 256 lettuce plants that are growing. The same for mangoes, the same for oranges, the same for broccoli, the same for zucchini. If you don't eat these things, they will literally rule the world. And then it'll be the evil broccoli police. How come you didn't eat me? And I'm going to put you in prison. We're the broccoli people, and we're going to eat you because you didn't eat us. It's a good Hollywood movie. So that's the commonsensical truth. If you don't eat fruits and vegetables, then they'll cover the earth. Why? Because we're meant to eat them. That's why. And they're free, and they're abundant, and they're delicious, and they're perfect.
And I just want to say one other thing about meat eaters, and we used to be meat eaters, but how is it not any different than an adrenochromer? Because the animals that we're procuring from the supermarket have been tortured, and they have some remnants of blood still in them, but it's all been adrenochromed. And how are we any different? Because it's a different species, it's okay to murder them? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't overstand any of that thinking. I don't get it. And once you know what it is we're doing, and we're taught over and over and over again that you don't need to eat meat to stay alive. There's many cultures that don't eat meat, and they're healthy, and they have less diseases. So it's like, we need to wake up to this. It's time.
So the point that we're making here, everyone, is it's just so obvious. It's just so absolutely obvious. Again, and it all relates back to that we're frugivores. If you understand, then we have a physiology, and the physiology of a frugivore is alkaline. So, for example, our teeth are perfect. Okay, God did not get our teeth wrong at all. Why do we have so many cavities? Because you're pouring battery acid on an alkaline substance. Your teeth are so perfect, so strong, so white. All you ever have to do to continue to have them forever is just to do what you're supposed to do. See, again, the human body is not equipped to deal with these idiotic decisions like eating animals, because we are alkaline beings. So there is just a basic to really understand your physiology. It works this way. Your system takes for granted that you're a frugivore and that you're going to eat alkaline foods. Your brain works on the basis that you know that you are an alkaline being, and you're only going to put alkaline thoughts into your head. Now, remember, we did that great podcast on brainwaves and what this all means to taking back your power and controlling your reality. There are 6 types of brainwaves, okay? And there's one type that is very bad for us. The other 5 are great. So there are 6 types of brainwaves. 5 are fantastic. 1 isn't good for us. And all we do is we use the 1 frequency that's bad for us. So beta, 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 beta. And beta is like this. It's discordant, it's rapid, it's high, and it's low. And there's just changing. There's no smooth, there's no flow, there's nothing. It's discordant, and it makes you discordant. And that's, the basis to this 5G transference of energy. That's how they transfer radio waves. That's how they transfer TV waves, microwaves. They all use beta waves as the carrier for these things, because it plays with our brain and it takes us out of stillness and silence and meditation and into chaos. Okay. And when we can't control our mind, then you'll never achieve heaven upon earth, because the heaven is God within you, and that comes from stillness and silence. So when you control your breathing, the first thing you do immediately, just by taking these what are called either circular or square breaths, which is deep in through the nostrils, and then deep out through the mouth. And then you just repeat this process, okay? And that process all by itself will take you immediately out of beta and down into alpha and theta. So the first 2 levels of the great brain waves, alpha and theta, are achieved by doing nothing more than just controlling your breathing. And how many people know how to breathe properly? How many people remember to control their breathing? Virtually nobody.
And when we're in our left brain, and usually a fear or a beta, very shallow breathing. I can notice it in myself instantly. If I drop into any kind of overthinking in left brain, I start shallow breathing. And then I can get headaches and all sorts of things, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah, like anger or something comes up. Like the first thing you notice is breathing. As soon as you start noticing the breathing, it just starts going away. Yeah. And going back to vegetarianism, I think one of the reasons probably people cannot switch is it's like an addiction, right? Like, I've been, cheese, and because I can understand, because I've been smoking cigarettes on and off for many years. I know it's bad for me, but it's just, I started when I was like 18, and it's one of those things I feel relaxed, and so I feel that's, again, my personal opinion. People have this habit, especially when they were kids growing up, they were fed meat, right? And they think it's normal. And I think what it ties in with the meditation you're talking about. Again, if something comes up that, oh, I want to eat meat, if we just notice on the breathing, because it's common sense, right? If we just detach ourselves from the word, especially the media, so it comes back naturally. Like, we don't have to do anything, we don't have to force ourselves. And also, I want to, before we start wrapping up, I also want to touch upon like growing your own vegetables, because our food that comes from the grocery stores is also contaminated. But there's many people, I think most people cannot grow their own food. Do you have any recommendations as to, because people cannot move to rural areas, like you guys made a decision, but many people cannot do that. Like, any recommendations for those guys?
Well, first off, you can, and I want you to just always use your frontal lobe, your Sherlock Holmesian brain, and start deducing some things. Why is it that the vast majority of big cities are all located outside of the Golden Zone? So the Golden Zone is that area between the tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. So this is that zone where you can grow 24/7, 365. So you're constantly providing your own food because there's no frost. And so the growing season there's slight variations in the seasons so that you can get variety, which is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But you can always grow your own food. Now, what if I were to tell you that even if you were in Siberia, you can continue to grow your own food all year round? how is it that there are families that are having fresh lettuce for dinner every single night through December and January in Siberia? If somebody can grow leaf lettuce outdoors in Siberia during December and January, you can do it too.
Which with the new technologies and the free energy, all of those things are going to be possible.
Of course.
Because you're not going to have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to heat your greenhouse for the winter when the frost is out or whatever. So it's not possible. When you lived in Canada, we weren't able, I mean, our electrical bill and our gas bills were out of this world. Yeah. And so the thought of having, something like that is just not affordable for most people, but that's not going to be an option, or not going to be a problem, I should say.
That's right.
In the future. And the other thing is, a lot of these pesticides and these companies like Monsanto, they're not going to be around, and there's other options that are going to be used and utilized. There's going to be an extreme paradigm shift in our thinking, in our abilities to create things that are healthy for us versus unhealthy. So I would suggest that, let's wait a little while before we make any extreme changes in our life, but there's going to be some amazing things that are going to allow us to have a whole new dream for many of us, just making a shift in our thinking.
Exactly. So the first thing that they're doing for us is that if you don't want to go back to work and have a job, you don't have to. There are infinite variety ways for you to stay at home, because that's what they want. What part of this process is to teach you that if you have kids, they're your responsibility. And it means that you need to be raising your own children. Right, and that means their educational process is in your hands. What did Donald Trump say? He absolutely said, the money will go to where, for education. He said that, these schools are just so disappointing. And he said that these teacher unions, I mean, they're vampires, like that group in New Orleans, literally. Are vampires, this group, and then the whole bunch of other teachers are being found to be these Antifa rioters and these urban areas. What's going on? So that system is broken. It's always been broken, and now it's beyond repair.
Even if they were good and godly people, the system is corrupt. So what they're teaching is no longer.
Yeah, it's. I mean, godly. It should be called brainwashing instead of schooling, right?
That's totally right.
And it must break the good people's hearts to have to teach that stuff.
Yeah. And so Trump has said that the money will go to where the most effective means of education happens. So that's with you and your children. And then what books do you use, and what textbooks? What should you don't, what books do you need? The Mother Mary, which is the Mother Earth. That's why she's there. Let your kids experiment with Mother Earth, and that's how you learn. And then if you travel, how do you learn your letters? How do you learn to read and write? How do you learn different languages? Travel.
But as well, the internet is a great resource, right? And now that it's going to be cleaned up, and
exactly,
we're going to be able to, and that's where I did most of my learning, on tutorials. If I want to learn something, I just use tutorials because somebody out there is showing you what they can do, and it's wonderful.
It's amazing. Like last 10 years, 10 years back, or maybe 15, we couldn't do this, what we're doing, and time is speeding up. The technologies are getting better and better, and we have the Tesla coils coming up. There's so many new technologies coming up. So there's a lot to look forward to, and it goes back to Tom Petty. I can't stop thinking about his songs because they have such deep meaning, and especially Free Falling and the Waiting. Like, whenever I get impatient, that song comes into my mind. The waiting is the hardest part. So
let me interject something for people. I think they'll like this. The last show that we did, Lokesh did a wonderful little thing about Michael Jackson and Dave. Mm-hmm. Guarantee you, Michael Jackson is alive, and I guarantee you, Michael Jackson was Dave. Guarantee you. And is Tom Petty dead? Well, the last album that Tom Petty did was called Hypnotic Eye, and that's what they've done to our third eye. They've hypnotized the third eye. People call it various different things like, calcifying the pineal gland, but they've hypnotized the third eye. The last song on the album is one of the greatest songs ever written. I think it's in the top 100 of our 500 most important rock songs ever. It's called Shadow People in Shadowland.
Great song.
And it's not about America. It's about everywhere. It's about mankind. It's an incredible song. And
it's about inside of you as well.
It's inside about you. It's left brain versus right brain, and everybody is over there in the left brain. And so the principal song finishes. There's a gap. There's patience. The waiting is the hardest part. But on his last song, the song ends, and the song waits for 7 seconds, God intervention, and then then with a acoustic guitar solo, just by himself, Tom Petty says, "Waiting for the day when the sun is straight overhead and there ain't no shadow no more." Is Tom Petty dead, or is Tom Petty alive, helping to bring forth the light above, where there's no shadow no more?
That reminds me of another one, Into the Great Wide Open. That one is amazing too. We can talk about music all day, but maybe we'll set up a session where we can just decode some of these songs.
I'd love that too. Colleen will tell you.
And we're setting up a website, so we're going to have a section on music as well. So it'll be very exciting, and we'll have the music right on there so people can hear it.
Now, one other thing that I want to share with all of our patrons now, because you're supporting us, you're our life for our animals, and making all of this possible. When we do these books, they're free for you. Now, we couldn't afford to do the physical books, but every single book that we do, so all the books that I've written 150 books on the 150 most important rock albums in history. And I've released only 6 of them because I have no time to edit and then release the other 144. But they're all done. And then, of course, all the new books that we're doing as well. If you want a physical copy, then we will give you an at cost. You will give you a code for it, and you'll have an at cost price. So it's just as low as possible. And of course, any ebook format will be free to you. All of our books will be free for you. You never have to.
It'll be in a PDF.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the e-form or the PDF form. That's right. Either form will be made available for you. You just have to specify, and the website will be able to do that for you. So that's us giving back to you, because you're our lifeblood, and for the animals, we love our animals.
Yeah, and also there'll be a link to the PayPal, because people also ask how we can donate. So we're going to put a link to your PayPal at the YouTube description. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got to figure out a way for all the incredible people that help us via PayPal, for them to be for them to know that these chats are going on, and for them to be a part of this as well. Because some people just don't like to do, they prefer PayPal to Patreon. So,
right.
So we wanted to make that clear as well. So let me please just leave this with you again. What do people mostly say about Colleen and I that they like the most is that we constantly give you hope. We're not giving you false hope. We are telling you the truth. Everything is about to change, and everything is about to right itself. And what's coming with the sunlight in the sky itself, on September 22nd, and then fully on December 22nd, is going to make things easier for you. Everything is going to become easier for you. God is all in with this revolution.
And if I can say something,
yeah.
All of the suffering that has been happening under the ground and above the ground, with all of this being taken down, the energy has to shift. The energy is shifting. There's less suffering and less pain being emitted by all of our brothers and sisters. So I know this is not in this moment, maybe, but we will notice a shift.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying that and bringing that up. And I want to make this one last point here. This is going to help a lot of people, maybe not so much here, but anyone who watches this, I want you to listen and listen carefully. Charlie, you're saying that Walmart is just so evil and Walmart's going to be taken down. Well, I work at Walmart or I'm part of this healthcare system and, I don't really like my job, but it's a job. And now you're talking about that these evil ways that we've done things like treating cancer are going to go away. That was my job, Charlie. Like, what am I going to do? No. There's going to be no end of jobs. It's just the jobs are all going to change. What President Trump has said himself is that all the jobs moving forward are going to be righteous. We're only going to be spending monies on things that are righteous. So don't worry. There's going to be, if you want to work out there for a job and be paid for it with gold-backed currencies, then you have no end of work. And remember, all the problems that exist with America's infrastructure, Canada's infrastructure, all the countries around the world, everything's falling apart because that's what they've wanted. It all needs to be fixed. Who's going to fix it? Mexicans? Mexicans are equally brilliant and beautiful and amazing. They have their own path and their own journey.
But there's going to be so many people who want to work with their hands. Well, they get to do that. So many people who want to work with their...
Let's do it together. It is so good for you out in the sunshine. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to heal ourselves physically and metaphysically. And we're going to roll up our sleeves, lock elbows. And we're going to do this together, folks. So don't worry. Don't worry about your job. You're never going to have to worry about money again. And the concept of money is going to change for you overnight.
Cool. Yeah. I also know you have some plans for building a community. And also I can just plug in, there's a website called ic.org. It's called Intentional Communities. So they're building these communities around the world. You can sign up, see what's in your area.
Wow.
Yeah, like they grow their own food. And so I think that not just that website, but that idea is going to be more and more coming out. People are going to want to like grow their own food, connect with people, right? So
one other quick point, if I just quickly could, folks, if that's like I predominantly eat watermelon. Colleen predominantly drinks orange juice. That's all you need. That's all you need. That's all you need. And when you're singular with it, it's actually even easier on your body. When you don't even have to juice watermelon because the amount of pulp in watermelon is almost non-existent. So you can just eat watermelon right off the rind. You can eat the rind too. It's fantastic for you. It's all good for you. It's just when it's heavier stuff, when there's pulp, it's harder for your body to digest. It's not bad for you. It just takes longer. It's all about stillness and silence. When you eat these foods, that's all your cells want. At the end of the day, when you're scarfing down meat and dairy, that's not what your body or your cells want. Your cells only need an influx of fructose or glucose. That's it. So natural sugar is all that your body is doing anyways to all the foods that you eat. That's it. They're just turning the foods that you eat into this natural fructose or glucose, and then secreting it into each of the cells. And that's all the cells ask for, and that's all they need. So all you need to do to live, to be big, strong, healthy, and never get sick ever again is just drink orange juice or just have watermelon. That's it. But Charlie, what about vitamin B12? No.
We're gonna have on the website. We're gonna have a section on food and health and longevity, and we have some other people who are going to be contributing to that, and they're brilliant. So it'll be a collaboration, and it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. So really looking forward to you guys being able to see that.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're 2 hours now. Thanks everyone for joining. I think a lot of the questions you already answered without even me asking, because it's, some of it is telepathic, and also some of it is connected because there's no one answer. One answer is connected to other answers, right? Thank you, Charlie and Colleen, for joining. Oh, more Colleen than Charlie. Okay. Because she's a special guest, right? We only get to see her once in a while.
And you get to see why. You can only see me once in a while.
Right. The dogs and the cats. And a lot of people are sending hearts and loves and rainbows. And actually, I'm wearing a rainbow hat.
You are.
Yeah, thank you. The rainbow currency, some people, the new thing. So a lot of people are sending those thank yous, namastes, and we're going to do this again next week, same time. And hopefully we got a lot of questions answered. Thanks everyone for joining. Do you have any final words, Colleen and Charlie?
Breathe, be calm, know that it's all gonna work. It's time.
Yeah,
But
they're
yeah.
saying bye. Yeah, I know. It's their way
They are.
saying of
Yeah.
a way of saying bye. So, all right. Do you have Charlie? Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Nope, that's it. We love you guys. We thank you. Lokesh, we love you. We thank you. And we'll see you next Friday. Every Friday is for you guys, and you deserve it. You deserve better than you've been getting. And we're trying so hard to give you the best that we possibly can. So
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Namaste.
namaste.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
In Lokesh.
In Lokesh.
Namaste. Bye.